The sun blazed, the dust rose, and cars thundered overhead. Beneath the Oshodi Bridge, people hurried past, stepping around an old, frail woman lying on the ground like a shadow no one noticed. No one stopped. No one cared. Amara did. She dropped to her knees in her torn, ash-colored gown, the hem already stained with dust. Her hair hung loose and tangled around her face. In her hands was her only meal for the day, a small pack of jollof rice and a bottle of water given by a kind stranger. "Ma, can you hear me?" Amara whispered. The woman's lips were dry, her eyes half shut. She gave no answer. Amara sat on the bare ground, gently lifting the woman into her lap. She opened the food, scooped a small spoonful, blew on it, and offered it carefully. "Please try." The woman swallowed slowly, each bite like a heavy climb uphill. Cars rushed past. Feet kept moving. Someone hissed. Someone laughed. No one helped. Amara continued feeding until the last grain was gone. She opened the bottle and lifted it to the woman's lips. The woman drank, coughed, then spoke in a weak, trembling voice. "Thank you, my daughter. You saved me." Amara held her close. "You're safe now. Tell me, is there someone I can call?" The old woman blinked as if reaching far back in her memory. "My son Anderson," she whispered, slowly reciting a phone number, each digit a fragile thread holding her to life. Amara's heart pounded. She pulled out her cracked little phone from a plastic bag. Her fingers shook as she dialed. A calm, deep voice answered. "Who is this?" "My name is Amara," she said, steadying her tone. "I found your mother under the Oshodi Bridge. I shared my food with her, but she needs help. Please come quickly." Silence. A long pause, heavy with fear. Then the voice came back, sharp and alert. "Stay with her. I'm on my way." Amara looked down at the woman on her lap. "Your son is coming." The woman managed a faint smile, lips curving with gratitude before her eyes closed again. Cut. Before this day, before the jollof rice, before the call that would change everything. Amara had once been a girl with a bright future and a brand new dress for graduation. Her parents had promised to come, to cheer the loudest, to take a photo beside the school gate in Surulere, where she would hold her prize as best student. She had practiced her pose. She had rehearsed her smile. They never arrived. There was an accident. Neighbors at the door. A rush to the hospital. Whispers, then silence. No more promises. After that, life became a long, dark night. Her Aunt Adana wore stiff clothes and a harder face. Her Uncle Namdi spoke smoothly like cold oil on stone. They claimed her late father owed them money. They sold the house. They took everything left. And when Amara cried, asking where she would sleep, they turned away and shut the gate. That night she slept at the bus stop, clutching her school bag like a shield. The days that followed were harsh, relentless. Wake early. Find a safe corner. Guard your bag. Beg for food. Hope for kindness. Avoid danger. Some days kindness appeared. A bowl of rice, a piece of bread, a half-empty bottle of water. Some days it didn't. But Amara still guarded a small dream, hidden like a flame cupped in two hands. She wanted to be a doctor. She wanted to help people live. She wanted to wear the white coat and say, "You will be okay." But dreams like flames need air. And under the bridge, the air was thin. On the day she found the old woman, Amara hadn't eaten since morning. A man in a clean white shirt had given her a few naira, telling her, "Use it well." She bought jollof rice and water, planning to eat slowly to make it last until night. Then she saw the woman on the ground, and it felt like the world asked her a question. What will you do now? Her feet moved before her fear could answer. She gave the woman her food. She gave her the water. She gave her her lap. Now the woman's son was on his way. Amara brushed the dust gently from the woman's forehead. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Please stay." A black SUV stopped near the bridge. The door opened quickly. A tall man stepped out in a sharp navy suit, worry in his eyes, authority in his stride. His driver hurried over with a blanket. "Mother," the man whispered, kneeling beside her. His hand brushed the woman's cheek as his voice broke. "Mama, can you hear me?" The old woman's eyelashes fluttered. "Anderson," she breathed, barely audible. He turned to Amara. For a moment his face shifted from shock to relief to a quiet respect. "You called me?" "Yes," Amara replied softly. "She was alone. I gave her my food." His jaw tightened. "Thank you." The driver wrapped a blanket around the woman while Anderson lifted his mother gently, as though she might break. "We're going to the hospital," he said. Then he looked at Amara. "Please come with us." "Me?" Amara blinked. No one had ever asked her to stay, only to leave. "Yes, you found her. The doctors will need to know what happened." His voice was steady yet kind. "Please." Amara nodded and climbed into the car. The leather seats felt too soft, almost foreign. She sat on the edge, gripping her water bottle tightly. The city flashed past in a blur of horns and lights. Inside the SUV, the old woman's breathing was faint, a fragile thread. "Hold on, Mama," Anderson whispered. "Hold on," Amara echoed. They arrived at Lagos Medical Center. Nurses rushed forward. A stretcher appeared. Bright lights, fast monitors, sharp hospital smells. Questions followed. Amara answered carefully, piece by piece. "She was under the bridge, weak. I gave her food, water. She seemed better. Then sleepy. I made the call. We came." Doctors nodded, and the old woman disappeared through swinging doors. In the stark hospital light, Anderson finally faced Amara. His expression looked aged, not by years but by strain. His eyes, dark and restless, held a storm struggling for calm. "Thank you," he said again, softer now. "I've been searching for her for a week. She went to the market and never returned." "A week?" Amara repeated, stunned. "Yes." He swallowed hard. "This is my fault. I should have gone with her. I should have." His voice cracked and he stopped. Amara quickly shook her head. "It's not your fault." He looked at her closely then, her worn dress, thin frame, and weary eyes that still held a spark of stubborn light. "How old are you?" 19. "And your parents?" "Gone," she answered plainly. There was no softer way to say it. Something in his face softened. "I'm sorry." "It's okay," she said, though it wasn't. Sometimes that is all you can say when the truth is too heavy. They sat in the hard hospital chairs. Time dragged. The air buzzed with low hums. A baby cried somewhere down the corridor. An old clock ticked steadily on the wall. "Whatever happens," Anderson said suddenly, "I will help you. You didn't walk past my mother, you saved her. That means everything." Amara lowered her gaze to the floor. Her throat tightened. No one had offered her help in a very long time. At last the doors swung open. A doctor in green scrubs stepped out, mask hanging under his chin. He looked at Anderson first, then at Amara, as if weighing the hope in their faces. "How is she?" Anderson asked, jumping to his feet so quickly his chair scraped the floor. The doctor took a measured breath. "She's very weak, severely dehydrated in shock. We've started fluids and tests. She must be watched closely." "Will she survive?" Amara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The doctor's eyes were kind but cautious. "We're doing everything we can." Suddenly, an alarm shrieked from inside the room. The harsh, urgent beeping tore through the hallway. The doctor spun back toward the doors. "Stay here," he ordered, before rushing inside. Nurses rushed past. A voice shouted, "She's crashing!" Another called for the crash cart. The monitor's beeping grew frantic. Anderson froze, his fists tightening. Amara stepped toward the swinging doors, her heart pounding against her ribs, whispering one word, "Mama." The doors slammed shut. The chaotic beeping echoed like a drum of fear. Nurses shouted commands. "Clear," someone cried. Anderson's lips moved in silent prayer, his fists still clenched. Amara pressed her hands together, whispering, "God, please don't take her." Then suddenly the rhythm steadied. The wild noise softened into a slow, regular beat. Footsteps quieted. A doctor's calm voice followed. Firm but stable. "She's holding." Anderson dropped into a chair, exhaling in relief. His eyes glistened. For the first time, a tear escaped. Amara spoke softly, almost testing the words, "She's alive." Anderson nodded, swallowing hard. "Yes, thanks to you." The next 2 days passed in a blur. Anderson barely left his mother's side. Amara, shy at first, became a quiet comfort, bringing water, adjusting pillows, whispering gentle words even when Madame Margaret slept. One morning her eyes opened. Weak but alive, she smiled faintly and whispered, "Amara, my daughter of kindness." Tears welled in Amara's eyes. She had not heard the word daughter spoken with such warmth in years. Anderson leaned forward, gripping his mother's hand. "Mama, I thought I lost you." Her voice trembled as she explained, I was coming from the market when men in a van grabbed me. They stole my bag, my jewelry, everything, then pushed me onto the road. I wandered until I collapsed. No one stopped. No one looked at me except her. She pointed to Amara. Anderson's eyes turned to her again, filled with gratitude, respect, and something unspoken. We owe you everything. Amara shook her head quickly. Please don't say that. I only did what my parents taught me. Never walk past someone in need. Madame Margaret's eyes softened. And look how God sent you to me. 2 days later, when she was well enough to leave the hospital, Anderson insisted Amara join them. Their SUV rolled through the gates of a vast white mansion. Iron bars tall as trees, walls gleamed, and a fountain sparkled in the late sun. Amara's breath caught. She pressed back into the leather seat, feeling smaller by the second. This isn't my world, she thought. This is another planet. The driver opened her door. Her legs trembled as her worn sandals touched the polished marble floor. Inside, chandeliers glittered. Golden-framed paintings lined the walls, and a spiral staircase rose like something from a dream. Amara froze, clutching her small bag with both hands, afraid to take a step. Welcome home, Anderson said gently. She shook her head. No, sir. My home is under the bridge. Anderson frowned. Never again. Tell me how someone as bright as you ended up there. The weight of the question held her silent. But when Madame Margaret touched her shoulder, the story poured out. She told them about her parents' accident, about how her Aunt Adana and Uncle Namdi stole everything, selling the house and casting her into the streets. She spoke of hunger, of begging, of nights too cold to sleep. And when she shared her dream of becoming a doctor, her voice broke. I wanted to heal, to wear the white coat, but dreams don't survive under a bridge. I've lost too much. I've grown too old too soon. The room fell still. Anderson's jaw tightened. His fist clenched. Not with fear this time, but anger. You will not lose that dream, he said firmly, his voice steady with resolve. Not while I'm alive. Amara's eyes widened. What do you mean? From today, Anderson continued, your life changes. You saved my mother when the world ignored her. Now I'll give you back what the world stole from you. Madame Margaret nodded. God has brought us together for a reason. From now on, you'll be my daughter in every way that matters. Amara's tears fell heavy onto the marble floor. For the first time in years, she was not alone. But she didn't know this was only the beginning. Her kindness had opened a door larger than she ever imagined. For across the city, Aunt Adana and Uncle Namdi sat counting the wealth they had stolen, unaware their names were about to resurface in a way that would shake their greedy world apart. The night air around the mansion was calm, but inside Amara's heart storms still raged. She sat on the balcony beside Madame Margaret, staring at the city lights in the distance. For the first time, she wasn't listening to the harsh noise of traffic beneath a bridge. Instead, she heard the gentle voice of the woman who now called her daughter. You will sleep in this house tonight, Margaret said softly, placing her frail hand over Amara's. No more dust, no more cold ground. You belong here now. Amara gave a faint smile, though her eyes brimmed with tears. I don't deserve this. Yes, you do, Margaret whispered. God lifts the humble, and sometimes kindness is the only key to a locked future. But across Lagos, in a cramped apartment filled with cigarette smoke and cheap gin, Aunt Adana and Uncle Namdi were counting fresh bundles of cash. Do you see, Namdi? Adana's voice rang with pride. We sold the house and no one stopped us. That girl must be dead by now. Beggars don't survive long. Namdi smirked, pouring himself another drink. Dead or alive, she's no threat. Who would believe a street rat story against us? We own her silence. There she is, a man shouted. That's the girl. She was caught stealing from her uncle's house. Amara froze, gripping the wheelchair tightly. What? A sharp voice cut through the noise, loud, bitter, and cruel. It was Adana, standing at the gate with papers in her hand and false sorrow etched on her face. That's Amara, my wicked niece. She ran away after stealing from us, and now she's deceiving Anderson with lies. The crowd stirred with anger. So she's not an orphan? She's a thief, some muttered. Amara's chest collapsed under the weight of their judgment. That's not true, she cried, her voice cracking. They stole everything from me. But no one listened. The stairs crushed her, reminding her of the bridge, people passing by, judging, never seeing the truth. Then Anderson stormed into the garden, his presence silencing the chaos. His eyes burned with fury as he stood between Amara and the mob. "Enough," he thundered. The murmurs stopped. Even Adana's voice wavered under his glare. "This girl," Anderson declared, his voice steady, "saved my mother's life when the rest of you walked past her. She gave her last meal to a dying woman when she had nothing herself. If you call her a thief, then the only thing she ever stole was my respect and my trust, and I gave those freely." He turned to Adana, his gaze sharp. "As for you, your lies end here. Do not mistake my silence for weakness. I know people like you and your husband. Remember this, the truth will always rise above your greed." The crowd shifted uneasily. Cameras clicked. Adana's face hardened, but fear flickered in her eyes. She turned and left abruptly, her curses trailing behind. The gates closed. Silence fell. But Amara collapsed to her knees, trembling, tears streaming down her face. "Why won't they let me live in peace?" Anderson knelt beside her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "Because your light blinds them, but you will not be broken again." Margaret reached from her wheelchair, her hand trembling as it touched Amara's face. "My daughter, this is only the beginning. When destiny calls, enemies will rise, but destiny always wins." Amara looked between mother and son, her heart swelling with fear, gratitude, and something she dared not name. But in the shadows, Adana and Namdi were not finished. This time they would strike where it hurt most. The attacks did not end at the mansion gates. By morning, newspapers carried Adana's lies. Amara's face splashed across bold headlines. "Street girl or gold digger?" The whispers grew louder, the weight pressing harder on her shoulders. In the mansion library, Amara sat with untouched books, her eyes swollen from sleepless nights. "Maybe I should leave," she whispered. "I don't want to damage Anderson's name." The door opened. Anderson entered carrying 2 mugs of tea. He placed one before her and sat across the table, his gaze calm but firm. "Say that again," he said. Amara lowered her eyes. "Maybe if I go, the lies will stop. You deserve peace." Anderson leaned forward. "Peace without you is not peace. Do you think I built a company, faced rivals, fought battles only to bend to rumors? No, Amara. The truth does not bow to lies, and neither should you." Her lips trembled, but no words came. Anderson leaned forward, gently holding her hands. "Look at me," he said. Slowly she lifted her eyes. "You're not leaving. You're not running. You saved my mother's life when no one else cared. One day you will save countless more in that white coat, and I will stand against anyone who tries to take your dream away." For the first time in weeks, a faint smile appeared on Amara's face. Exam day arrived. The Lagos University Hall buzzed with hundreds of students, pens clicking and papers rustling. Amara sat in the middle row, her heart racing, her hands trembling. She closed her eyes briefly and whispered, "Papa, Mama, guide me." Then she picked up her pen and began to write. Hours later, she walked out lighter, certain she had given everything she had. Weeks passed before the results arrived. Anderson personally carried the envelope to her room. "Open it," he urged, his voice revealing rare nervousness. Her fingers shook as she tore it open. Her eyes scanned the page, then widened as tears filled them. "I passed," she whispered. "Medicine and surgery." Anderson's face lit up with the biggest smile she had ever seen. He lifted her in a sweeping hug. "You did it." From her chair, Margaret clapped with tears streaming. "My daughter, the doctor." 5 years later, applause filled the hall as Amara, now 24, crossed the stage in her graduation gown. Her smile was radiant, her heart pounding. She received the medal for Best Graduating Student as cameras flashed and voices cheered. In the front row, Anderson and Margaret clapped until their hands ached. Margaret's chest swelled with pride, tears rolling down her cheeks. That evening at the mansion, Anderson led Amara to the balcony. The city lights sparkled below like an inverted sky. "You achieved what once felt impossible," he said softly. "You became a doctor." Amara turned to him, her eyes shimmering. "Because you believed in me when I had nothing." Anderson's throat tightened. Slowly, he brought out a small velvet box. Amara gasped, covering her mouth. "Amara," he said, his voice unsteady but full of conviction, "you gave me back my mother. You gave me hope. I don't just want to walk beside you. I want to build a life with you. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Amara's face. She nodded, unable to speak at first. Finally, in a choked whisper, she said, "Yes." 1,000 times. Yes, behind them, Margaret, who had quietly followed, wiped her eyes. "God, you are faithful," she whispered before placing her hands over theirs. "My children, my joy is full." The wedding was grand. The church overflowed with guests, chandeliers glowing above white roses and golden ribbons. Margaret walked Amara down the aisle, her steps steady, her face radiant with tears. At the altar, Anderson's eyes never left Amara. When she spoke her vows, silence filled the hall. "Today, I am not only marrying the man I love, I am marrying the son of the woman I once fed with the little food I had. That act of kindness gave me a second chance at life. You gave me back my dream, my dignity, and my future, and I promise, for as long as I live, to love and honor you." Tears streamed down every face in the church. 4 years later, after many prayers and tears, Amara and Anderson welcomed a baby boy. They named him Richard. When Margaret held her grandson, sunlight caught her gray hair as tears poured down. "Kindness," she whispered. "Kindness gave me back my son, and kindness gave me a grandson." Amara leaned into Anderson's shoulder, her heart full. From the dust beneath the bridge to the light of a mansion. From hunger to healing. From loss to love. Her story had been rewritten, and it all began with a single plate of jollof rice. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Adana leaned back, her head tie slipping slightly. "Good. The more she disappears from this world, the better for us." What they didn't know was that destiny had other plans. Their stolen secrets were already beginning to resurface. The next morning, Anderson entered the living room where Amara sat nervously on the edge of a cream-colored sofa. He was tall, composed, wearing a plain white shirt with sleeves rolled up. His eyes were sharp, the kind that wasted no words. "I've made arrangements," he said. "You will have a private tutor. We'll prepare you for the university entrance exam. If medicine is your dream, then medicine it will be." Amara's eyes widened, her lips trembling. "You would do that for me?" Anderson leaned forward slightly. "You saved my mother when she was near death. Tell me, what is that worth? Money can't measure it. So yes, Amara, I'll do it, because your kindness deserves a future." Amara buried her face in her palms, sobbing quietly. "I don't know how to thank you." From her chair, Margaret smiled. "Thank him by becoming everything your parents hoped for. Rise so high that those who betrayed you will have no choice but to bow before the God who raised you." The words struck Amara's heart like a promise carved in stone. Weeks passed. Amara studied with relentless focus, her mind sharper than her torn clothes had ever suggested. She devoured every textbook, solved every problem, and worked late into the night under the soft glow of a lamp in the guest room. Sometimes Anderson paused at her door, watching quietly, half in admiration, half in awe, but her past had not let her go. One evening, as Amara walked to the gate to collect a package from the delivery man, she froze. Across the street stood a face she could never forget, Aunt Adana. Adana's eyes widened, recognition flashing like lightning. For a moment she stood still, lips parting in surprise, then curled into a mocking smile. "Well, well," Adana said, crossing the road slowly, her heels clicking against the pavement. "So the street rat learned to climb walls." Amara's throat went dry. "Auntie, don't call me that," Adana hissed, glancing at the tall gates of the mansion. "What are you doing here? Who did you deceive to get into a place like this?" "I deceived no one," Amara replied quietly, clutching the package tighter. "I helped someone, and now God is helping me." Adana's laughter was cold. "Kindness won't feed you," Adana said coldly. "Money does, and that money will never be yours." She leaned closer, her tone sharp. "Be careful, Amara. If you try to rise above me, I will drag you back into the mud where you belong." At that moment, the mansion gates opened, and Anderson stepped out. His eyes shifted from Amara to the older woman before her. "Is there a problem here?" he asked firmly. Adana hesitated, her pride holding her in place. "No problem. I was only greeting my niece." Anderson's voice carried suspicion as he repeated her words. Amara lowered her head, lips trembling. "Yes, this is my aunt." Anderson's eyes hardened. He heard the greed behind the woman's tone. A protective instinct rose in him. Stepping closer to Amara, he said with authority, If you are her family, then you should be ashamed. A family protects its own, not abandons them. Leave now and do not return. Adana's lips tightened, her pride wounded. But as the gates closed and Anderson's gaze remained unyielding, she turned sharply and walked away, muttering under her breath. Amara stood trembling, her chest heavy with old memories. Anderson placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Do not be afraid. They cannot hurt you anymore, not while I am here. But deep down, Amara knew it wasn't over. If Adana had seen her here, then Namdi would soon hear of it, and together they would not stop until they tried to destroy her rising light. That night, as Amara sat at her desk, her hand trembled around the pen. The equations and diagrams before her blurred. Her mind kept returning to the shadow of her aunt's smile. Across Lagos in a dimly lit apartment, Adana and Namdi were already plotting. This time it would not be empty threats, it would be war. At dawn, the first light spilled into Amara's room. She sat at her desk, notes spread wide, her pen moving quickly. Her tired eyes carried dark circles, but her spirit burned with determination. The entrance exams were only weeks away, and she refused to waste the chance Anderson had given her. From the balcony, Anderson leaned against the railing, silently watching. His shirt collar loosened. His gaze followed her steady focus and unbroken will. Something stirred in him, something he could no longer ignore. Margaret noticed it too. From her wheelchair by the window, her wise eyes followed her son. You care for her more than you realize, she whispered. Anderson turned quickly, his face hardening. Mama, please, she gave a faint smile. I was once young too. I know the look of a man who has found what his heart has been searching for. Anderson remained silent, but his silence carried more weight than words. Across the city, Adana and Namdi were restless. She's living in Anderson's mansion, Adana spat, slamming her cup onto the table. The girl we abandoned is now in his house as if she belongs there. Namdi frowned. If Anderson has taken her in, she must be valuable to him. And if she matters to him, she's a threat to us. Adana leaned forward, her voice sharp. We cannot allow her to rise. If she becomes a doctor, she will expose everything. She will come for us, and what do you suggest? Namdi asked slowly, her lips curled. We take control. We'll spread lies that she is using Anderson for money. We'll make him doubt her. And if that fails, her eyes glimmered. We still know men who can finish what they started. Namdi nodded. Good. Let her taste fear again. At the mansion, life continued. Amara's tutor praised her talent. She has the makings of a top medical student, he told Anderson one evening. Her discipline is rare. Anderson's chest swelled with quiet pride. Make sure she gets every chance to succeed, he replied calmly. But Amara was not blind. She saw the way Anderson's eyes lingered when she spoke about medicine. She noticed how he ensured her lamp always worked, how he left meals at her door when she forgot to eat. She felt the warmth of his presence. With every small act, something new and dangerous grew in her heart, something beautiful. Still, she focused on her books, remembering her parents' dream. She wanted to make them proud in heaven. The storm arrived on a humid afternoon. Amara was in the garden with Margaret, gently pushing her wheelchair along the tiled path. The air carried the scent of flowers and rain. Margaret lifted her hand to touch Amara's cheek. My daughter, she whispered. You remind me of the girl I once was before life took so much away. Strong, brave, and kind. Never lose that. Amara's throat tightened. Mama, no one has ever called me their daughter before. Thank you. Before Margaret could respond, the mansion gate swung open with a metallic clang. Security guards shouted as a crowd rushed in. Neighbors, strangers, and reporters with cameras flashing. Fingers pointed, whispers spread like fire.